Live from New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. Coming up in the next 30 minutes. India and China hold special representatives dialogue on the boundary question in Beijing. The first flight since Bashar al-Assad's fall departs from Syria's capital, Damascus. Russia detains a citizen of Uzbekistan over the killing of its top general. And India's Ravichandran Ashwin retires from international cricket. India and China held the Special Representatives Dialogue on the boundary question in Beijing on Wednesday. Ajit Doval, India's National Security Advisor and Special Representative on the India-China boundary question during the 23rd meeting of the Special Representatives, met with his Chinese counterpart and Minister of Foreign Affairs of China, Wang Yi. Key topics on the agenda included implementation of the 21st October Disengagement Agreement and restoration of patrolling rights in eastern Ladakh. Both sides are also exploring a long-term resolution to the boundary dispute. Russia on Wednesday said it had detained a citizen of Uzbekistan who had confessed to planting and detonating a bomb that killed Lieutenant General Igor Kirillov in Moscow on Tuesday on the instructions of Ukraine's security service. Russia accused Ukraine's allies of approving war crimes by either remaining silent on the killing or expressing support for such attacks. The attack took place a day after Russia's President Vladimir Putin boasted of his military's successes in Ukraine.
Investigators of the Main Investigation Directorate of the Investigative Committee of Russia, in cooperation with the FSB and the Ministry of Internal Affairs of Russia, detained a citizen of the Republic of Uzbekistan born in 1995 on suspicion of committing a terrorist act that killed Igor Kirillov and his assistant. The investigative actions are being carried out with the detainee. During interrogation, he explained that he had been recruited by the Ukrainian Special Services. Following their instructions, he arrived in Moscow and received an improvised explosive device. He placed it on an electric scooter, which he parked at the entrance of the apartment building where Kirillov lived.
Russia's foreign ministry said that Moscow will raise the assassination issue in the United Nations Security Council on 20th of December.
The permanent mission of Russia to the UN will raise the issue of the Committed Terrorist Act during the UN Security Council meeting on the supply of Western weapons to Ukraine, requested by Russia on December 20. We are confident that all the organizers and perpetrators of the murder of Igor Kirillov will be found, punished, whoever it may be, wherever they are.
Dmitry Medvedev, the deputy chair of Russia's Security Council, said Ukraine would face imminent revenge for the killing of the general.
Everyone understands what happened and what needs to be done. Despite the fact that the investigation has just begun, our enemies have already rushed to publish information about their involvement. In any case, the investigators must find the killers in Russia, and we must do everything to destroy the patrons who are in Kiev. These patrons are also known. This is the military political leadership of Ukraine. In any case, this is a very sad incident.
The United States has denied having any role in the assassination of the general and his aide in Moscow on Tuesday. State Department spokesperson Matthew Miller said the United States was not aware of it in advance and was not involved in it.
I don't have an assessment. It's not something that we were involved in. Obviously, he was a general who was involved in a number of atrocities. He was involved in the use of chemical weapons against Ukrainian military.
U.S. President-elect Donald Trump has filed a lawsuit against the Des Moines Register newspaper and its former top pollster the day after he stepped up his legal threats against news outlets. The lawsuit seeks unspecified damages and an order barring the newspaper from engaging in ongoing deceptive and misleading acts and practices related to polling. A representative of the newspaper said the company stands by its reporting and believes the lawsuit is without merit. Trump on Tuesday nominated Herschel Walker as the U.S. ambassador to the Bahamas. Walker is a former football star who lost the 2022 race to Democratic U.S. Senator Raphael Warnock in the state of Georgia. Walker was one of Trump's earliest 2022 endorsements and was known for gaffes on policy issues and sometimes confusing musings. The United States established diplomatic relations with the Bahamas in 1973. U.S. lawmakers brought a bill to curb Chinese impact in the country's fentanyl crisis. U.S. authorities have proposed 3 bills that would put in place measures to set up a special task force to curb narcotics trafficking and bring in new sanctions on Chinese entities not following formal entry channels. One of the bills proposes to hold China's ruling Communist Party accountable for a direct role in the crisis and cut off Chinese companies from the U.S. banking system for arranging illicit synthetic narcotics. The bill is scheduled to be put again after the new government takes charge in January next year. Sentiment among businesses in Germany has dipped to its lowest level since May 2020. This according to the much-watched IFO Institute Business Climate Index. Joining us for more is DW's Chiponda Chimbelu in Berlin. Chiponda, so what's behind this pessimism?
Thanks for having me. Well, the election of Donald Trump as the next U.S. president is weighing on German business leaders. They are concerned about his threats to impose more tariffs and increase trade restrictions. And on top of that, the German economy is already facing many structural challenges, especially in the country's most important industry, the auto sector. Several companies in the industry have announced job cuts already, and they aren't the only ones. Even DAX heavyweights like tech giant SAP are planning to cut costs by slashing jobs. Now, leading German economist and president of the IFO Institute, Clemens Fuest, said the weakness of the German economy has become chronic. So perhaps that is why companies have become more pessimistic about the future.
So what more can be expected going forward?
Well, it goes without saying that a lot of how Germany's political landscape and economic policy looks like next year will depend on the outcome of the elections on February 23rd. Now, if more parties make it into the German Bundestag, the Christian Democrats, which is of course leading in the polls, will most likely struggle to form a government. And that would mean that coalition talks could drag for weeks. That would potentially leave Germany with a caretaker government for months. And of course, that government wouldn't be able to make any major policy decisions. And all of this will also inform company decisions about their future plans. Many will probably want to wait to see the new government's economic policies before making any major investments. And right now, the parties that are most likely or appear most likely to be able to form a coalition have very contrasting economic policies.
Chiponda, thank you. Chiponda Chimbelu reporting there from Berlin. Right, moving on, Britain's Prime Minister Keir Starmer on Tuesday visited British NATO troops in Estonia as part of his schedule at the Joint Expeditionary Force Summit. The Prime Minister met with the soldiers aboard the HMS Iron Duke in Tallinn after holding bilateral talks with Finland's President Alexander Stubb. Denmark's Prime Minister Mette Frederiksen and Sweden's Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi will visit Kuwait on 21st and 22nd December at the invitation of the Emir of Kuwait. This will be the first visit of an Indian Prime Minister to Kuwait in 43 years. During the visit, the Prime Minister will hold discussions with the leadership of Kuwait. The Prime Minister will also interact with the Indian community in that country. India and Kuwait share traditionally close and friendly relations which are rooted in history and have been underpinned by economic and strong people-to-people linkages. India is among the top trading partners of Kuwait. The Indian community is the largest expatriate community in that country. This visit will provide an opportunity to further strengthen the multifaceted ties between India and Kuwait. And still to come on DD India Live. Netanyahu says Israel will remain on Mount Hermon until another arrangement is found. An INS Nesic commissioned into the Indian Navy.
This week on Defense Dynamics, we will talk about the exercise which exposed J-16's capabilities, nullifying tall theoretical claims of the Chinese. We'll tell you why newly commissioned INS Tushil underscores strong India-Russia strategic ties and strong friendship apart from building a strong blue water navy. We will also discuss Russian fighter Su-57, which has been in news and creating a buzz. All this and much more on Defense Dynamics every Wednesday at 8 PM IST only on DD India.
Geopolitics and trade deals. Economic challenges amid development. Hard work and the path to prosperity. It's the economy always. Between walkers, money is what money does and says. Supply creates its own demand. Between the bulls pulls and bears tears. When supply chains globalization and India rises to the podium. We'll get you centered with the economic brief at 8 PM every Thursday on DD India.
You're watching DD India Live. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran. To West Asia now, Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu held a security briefing atop a strategic Syrian mountain inside the UN-patrolled buffer zone on the Golan Heights. Netanyahu said Israeli troops will remain there until another solution is found. He ordered Israeli troops to seize the buffer zone after Bashar al-Assad's ouster in Syria.
We are holding the assessment in order to decide on the deployment of the IDF in this important place until another arrangement is found that ensures Israel's security. I was here 53 years ago with my soldiers. The place has not changed. It is the same place, but its importance for the security of Israel has only been underscored in recent years, and especially in recent weeks with the dramatic events that have occurred below us in Syria. We will determine the best arrangements that will ensure our security.
In Syria, the Damascus International Airport reopened on Wednesday. The first flight since the ouster of Bashar al-Assad took off for Aleppo. 43 people, including journalists, were on board the flight. At the terminal, the new flag replaced the one linked to Assad's era. Assad fled Syria as a lightning rebel offensive launched on 27th November wrested city after city from his control. His army abandoned Damascus airport on 8th December, and until Wednesday, no flights had taken off or landed. An agreement between Israel and Hamas for putting an end to 14-month-old conflict and release of hostages could be signed in the coming days as talks in Cairo make progress. The US, joined by mediators from Egypt and Qatar, are making intensive efforts to advance the talks before President Joe Biden leaves office next month. US spy agency CIA chief William Burns, a key US negotiator, is set to meet Qatar's Prime Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani in Doha on Wednesday on bridging the remaining gaps between Israel and Hamas. The head of the Syrian National Coalition, Hadi al-Bara, which grouped opponents of Bashar al-Assad during the civil war, said on Wednesday that Syria's transitional government should be credible and not exclude any Syrian party or be based on sectarianism.
So I call on all of you to support the current caretaker government in Syria, which is supposed to finish its duties by the beginning of March. Then after March, a transitional government will be formed within a quarter of Syrians. When it gets formed, it needs to include everyone, all of Syria, with all its components, without an exclusion of any party.
India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar on Wednesday held a phone conversation with his Israeli counterpart Gideon Sa'ar. Taking to microblogging site X, Minister Jaishankar said, "Appreciate his briefing on the ongoing developments in the region." The minister said the two leaders discussed ways to strengthen India-Israel relations and that he looks forward to meeting his Israeli counterpart in person. An Indian Navy warship, INS Nesic, was commissioned into the Indian Navy at Naval Dockyard in Visakhapatnam on Wednesday in the presence of Minister of State for Defence Sanjay Seth. The ship boasts of over 80% indigenous content, reaffirming India's expertise in ship design and construction and the Indian Navy's trust in self-reliance. The 110-meter-long vessel, with a displacement of approximately 3,800 tons, is powered by two diesel engines and is equipped with state-of-the-art hydrographic and oceanographic survey equipment. A two-day international energy conference and exhibition concluded in New Delhi on Wednesday. It featured panel discussions and special addresses by ministers and industry stakeholders on energy transformation and its importance. Lead India's Deepika Metho has more.
The fifth edition of International Energy Conference and Exhibition concluded on Wednesday in New Delhi after witnessing 2 days of global dialogue on energy transformation. The second and the last day witnessed the participation of industry stakeholders who exchanged their thoughts and ideas on the subject, empowering manufacturing, driving innovation, and global competitiveness. Speaking on the occasion, Dr. D. Sai Baba, Joint Secretary, Ministry of Power, stressed on the importance of energy and its transformation.
The idea was that we have to be ahead of the generation. If the generation of RE is coming 50 gigawatt per year is the target, so we are looking much more than that, so that by the time, because there is a greater lead time for the transmission system, so we can, by the year end of the 2030, we should be able to cater to the whatever generation is coming up from the RE side, or we are able to evacuate the whatever RE generation is coming up.
The two-day event focused on different subjects spread across 3 tracks and sub-themes that aimed at enhancing energy and how to ensure its smooth and productive transformation. The event also showcased an exhibition by industry stakeholders who showcased their bit of contribution towards energy transformation. Deepika Mehto's report for DD India.
Indian schools in Qatar celebrated the Qatar National Day with vibrant cultural performances and festivities, highlighting the strong bond between the Indian community and Qatar. India's President Draupadi Murmu and Prime Minister Narendra Modi extended their greetings to Qatar's Emir Sheikh Tamim bin Hamad Al Thani, the government and its people, expressing hope for stronger ties between the two nations. India's External Affairs Minister S. Jaishankar also conveyed his wishes to Qatar's Prime Minister and Foreign Minister Sheikh Mohammed bin Abdulrahman Al Thani, emphasizing the deep historical and cooperative relationship between India and Qatar. The Bangladesh High Court has acquitted former State Minister for Home Affairs Lutfuzzaman Babar and 5 others who were sentenced to death in the 10-truck arms haul case in Chattogram. The court also commuted the death sentence of 6 convicts to 10 years imprisonment in the case. Indian separatist outfit United Liberation Front of Assam's chief Paresh Barua, another death row convict, had his sentence reduced to life imprisonment. The 10-truck arms haul case is the largest arms smuggling incident in the history of Bangladesh. Investigators believe the delivery was intended for the Alpha. The US Federal Reserve is expected to cut interest rates on Wednesday, brushing off uncertainty about inflation's downward path. The Fed is widely expected to deliver a 25 basis point interest rate cut at the end of its 2-day policy meeting. The Fed has made significant progress tackling inflation through interest rate hikes in the last 2 years. A cut on Wednesday would be the Fed's 3rd in a row and would leave rates a full percentage point below where they were just 3 months ago. In sports news, Indian cricketer Ravichandran Ashwin has retired from international cricket following the 3rd test of the Doordarshan series against Australia in Brisbane. Ashwin retires as one of India's all-time greats, leaving behind a legacy of remarkable achievements. An era has come to an end in international cricket, not just Indian cricket.
India's spin spearhead Ravichandran Ashwin announced his retirement from international cricket in all formats at the end of the 3rd test of the Doordarshan Trophy series in Brisbane. The 38-year-old told the reporters at Gaba that it is going to be his last day playing for India.
This will be my last day as an Indian cricketer in all formats at the international level. I do feel there's a bit of punch left in me as a cricketer, but I would like to expose and probably showcase that in club level cricket.
Indian cricketer Virat Kohli extended his wishes in a tweet. He said, "I have enjoyed every bit of the journey with you, Ash. Your skill and match-winning contributions to Indian cricket are second to none, and you'll always be remembered as a legend of Indian cricket." Ashwin ends his test cricket at a remarkable note. He is India's 2nd highest wicket taker in the format, with 537 wickets from 106 tests, only behind Anil Kumble, who finished with 619 wickets from 132 tests. India's Sports Minister Dr. Mansukh Mandavia also lauded Ashwin in a tweet for leaving an indelible mark on Indian cricket. He called him one of the greatest off-spinners of all time. From those match-winning spells to incredible test hundreds, you have left an indelible mark on Indian cricket and inspired countless youngsters. Meanwhile, ICC Chairman Jay Shah said Ashwin's international career is something to be proud of. He said, "One of BCCI's greatest match winners, a magician with the ball and an astute thinker of the game." Vice President of the Indian Cricket Board Rajiv Shukla also praised Ashwin for his exceptional contribution in the game.
BCCI also appreciates it and always salute to his contribution to the world cricket as well as Indian cricket, and particularly domestic cricket also. He is a great bowler. He has got immense potential as far as game is concerned. So I wish him best for his future endeavours.
In addition to his wickets, Ashwin also scored 3,503 test runs with 6 hundreds and 14 50s, making him one of the 11 all-rounders with more than 3,000 runs and 300 wickets. He also won a record 11 Player of the Series awards levelled with Muthaiya Muralidharan. Priya Yadav for DD India.
The 3rd test between Australia and India ended in a draw on Wednesday after play was abandoned because of rain following tea on day 5 in Brisbane. India were 8 for no loss in their 2nd innings, needing 267 for win when bad light halted play and brought tea early. The match was unable to resume after the break. Australia's hopes of forcing a result were always hostage to the weather, but their chances of victory were already water thin given their attack was a man down. Pace stalwart Josh Hazlewood was out of action after a calf injury. Travis Head was named player of the match after scoring 152 in Australia's first innings. The 5-test series is level 1-all. The 4th test starts in Melbourne on 26th of December. India's public broadcaster Prasar Bharati has launched an OTT platform called Waves. Waves provides complete infotainment ecosystem to digital media and OTT audiences. If you want great content for free, then download Waves now. That's all for this edition of DD India Live. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Ramesh Ramachandran from all of us here in New Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.